Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. This week's guest is Guillaume Post from the First PR, the company that represents Washington State's tourism board in the UK. We've covered quite a lot of information already during the show about the basics of Washington State, some of the regions, and how to get there, how far away it is. But we're still working our way through the different parts of Washington State. It covers quite a large area and there's plenty to see and do when you get there. And we're now moving away from land and going towards the coastal area. And then later in the show, we'll be talking about the city that probably everybody's heard of, Seattle. Seattle, the home of Nirvana, and that always reminds me about how old I am when they say how long ago the Nirvana started and all the albums came out. Not only do I get depressed about how long ago it was and how old I am now, I still wonder how Dave Grohl still has all his hair and mine is all long gone. But anyway, I'm digressing slightly. Let's get back to Guillaume and find out more about the coastal regions of Washington State. Moving to the coastal areas, I was looking at what Washington State has, and there's something called a sea stat came up. What is that? And also, is it ever warm enough to actually go swimming in the sea?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it gets pretty hot in the summer, so definitely, when coming to the end of June, beginning of July, there's even surf available, in the sort of northern side of Washington. But yes, no, it is possible to swim. When I was once, when was it? A couple of years ago, on one of the last few trips I did. I was there at the end of September, beginning of October, so I didn't go for a swim. Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful, fantastic weather. And I was doing a road trip on the Olympic Peninsula. So you take the ferry from Seattle over to Bainbridge Island. You go all the way up north towards Port Townsend, which is a beautiful Victorian town. And then you go past a place which is called Hurricane Ridge, which is sort of a 45-minute drive up a road to the top of that sort of a mountain where you have an overlook to see all the way over Victoria on Vancouver Island, over the Olympic National Park, the forest and the mountains. And when you go back down, you go towards the coastline, by La Push, another town called Claylock, and yes, along the coast there will be the most beautiful beaches, sort of wild, rugged beaches where you've got driftwood, and all along the coastline you will find these rock formations jutting out of the sea, which are a photographer's dream because you've got the sun coming from the west, coming over those rocks and hitting the trees, and it makes. It's very famous for those rock formations all along the coast in the Pacific Northwest, and yes, they're called sea stacks,
okay,
which have been created by erosion over the years, etc. So the area itself, and when this road trip, which is quite a famous one that we promote, all this area on the coastline and the Olympic National Park on the peninsula is a World UNESCO Heritage Site, and it is it has a rainforest. Well, it has a couple, but it's got a rainforest sort of biosphere, and it's the only one in the U.S. or in the lower 48 states. So there is one in Alaska, there is one in Hawaii, but a rainforest like this it's the only one on the lower 48 on the continental US.
I'm quite into whales, so can you see whales when you go to the islands region? If you can, when's the best time of year to see them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably something that would be on anyone's to-do list when you go over. It is a very, very famous place for whale watching, and particularly the orca whale. So they are to be found in the San Juan Islands, and they've got pods of orca whales, and they are there during cruise season.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, it's the same time of year. So between May and the end of September, you will see the orca whales around the San Juan Islands. If you and I really, encourage anyone to go over to San Juan during the summer. It's a beautiful, quiet place to go to. Bit of a hidden gem in the Northwest. It's been declared by Obama a national monument last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you get there, 30 minutes from Seattle on a seaplane from Lake Union in Seattle. Or you can take a ferry, Victoria Clipper. You can drive and take a ferry. But you will get on a boat and do some whale watching. It's a beautiful spectacle. It's not very difficult to see them because they're very. There's a system over the island where the boats would communicate by radio, so you always know where the pods are, and it's quite amazing to see them cruise around, do the spy hopping.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org. So far during the conversation with Guillaume from the First PR agency who represent Washington State is everything to do away from Seattle, which is the large city in Washington. We're now going to narrow down and find out what you can actually do once you get into Seattle. And then later in the show, we're going to find out if there's a state dish, and if there is, what it is.
There's lots to do. Seattle, what first comes to mind? I mean, it's been in films and series, etc. Probably most famously with nowadays Grey's Anatomy. It's a city where you've got lots of music heritage.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Jimi Hendrix, for example. We're talking about Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, of course, but all the independent rock bands that have been, going on over the years. The Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, etc. Lots of those. The music history is very. It's very lively in Seattle, and there's lots of different bands. We've got people like Macklemore, Ryan Lewis, probably more recent, who are from the area. That's probably something that would come to mind as one of the first points where you're going to see lots of concert venues and bars and cafes, etc. in Seattle. There's of course, when you are in the city, it's not going to be as big as Chicago or New York City. It still remains that sort of a very walkable downtown area. And one of the first things that you will do in Seattle is to head over to the waterfront, which will maybe remind you a little bit about San Francisco. Maybe a little bit about Vancouver in British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
People are very friendly in the Northwest. And when I say San Francisco, I would refer to the steep hills, etc. So going to the waterfront, so you're going to go over some steep hills and head over towards Pike Place Market, which is always in the top 10 best markets in sort of North America or even the world. It's great fun. You got lots of fresh produce. I mean, the locals shop there. It's not just for tourists, etc. That's also where you've got the first Starbucks coffee shop. Also another famous, iconic name about Seattle and the state of Washington. But going back to music, from the Seattle downtown area, you can take the monorail, which is with the Space Needle, something that was created for the 1962 World Fair. And if you take the monorail, which is like 5-minute walking distance from Pike Place Market to the Seattle Center, which is where you find the Space Needle. At the bottom of the Space Needle, you will find a place called the Experience Music Project, which is also where the monorail arrives. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible building. It's a Frank Gehry design building, so lots of metal and shaped and very shiny, etc. But inside you will find lots of different exhibits, and of course exploring all the history and culture of Seattle's links to music. So all the Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and the Stones and lots of memorabilia, which is fascinating. You can. It's very interactive as well. It's probably one of the best. I mean, they don't call themselves a museum, but it's probably one of the best museum types or type attractions that have gone and visit ever.
Okay.
So it's very interactive. They've got a sci-fi museum inside as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have the Star Wars exhibit in 2015. It's a lot of fun. I mean, for all ages, it's a lot of fun.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org.
Dale Chihuly is the glass-blowing artist, which is, probably the most famous one in the world. He's got pieces, like the chandelier, the Bellagio, and the lobby. That's from
mm-hmm.
him. It's all that, quirky glass sculptures. There's one at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Or Berkeley Square in London as well. Very colourful, yellowy, orangey, etc. So he's got a big area all about his work, and it's an indoor and outdoor sort of exhibit. So you will see that. Lots of shopping available in Seattle as well as anywhere in the U.S., but probably some really good opportunities when you go back on the monorail to downtown Seattle to a place called Nordstrom, and you will find lots of good shopping ideas over there. Seattle is also a city where you go by neighborhoods. So there's lots of quirky neighborhoods, lots of very sort of hip neighborhoods. So my favorite, or the must-dos, the must-sees when you're in Seattle, the first one would be to head over to Fremont. So Fremont is, again, when I talked about San Francisco, it's all about the artists and it's sort of a very hippie trendy place in Seattle. So that's where you can find a sculpture of a troll. Under a bridge. If you Google troll and Seattle, you'll see what I mean.